Happy Tuesday, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here with you live November 12th, 11/12/13. How about that? 11/12/13. Welcome to another live edition of Fire Your MD Now. Thanks to Mike Phillip for standing in for me yesterday. Thanks. That's the man from the great white north, Mike Phillip. Way up there in Chile Camrose in the beautiful province of Alberta, Canada, where, by the way, they do not have a recession. It's a oil and gas-driven economy. They don't have a recession up there. They haven't had a recession up there for forever because it's all about the oil and the gas revenue, and I think it's great. I met some wonderful Canadians. Actually, I'm still waiting to meet a bad Canadian. I haven't met a bad Canadian yet, knock on wood. I suppose there's a couple of MDs floating around that part of the country that I wouldn't like to hang out with. But nonetheless, the Canadians are great folks, especially in that part of Canada, because they're very down-to-earth, very pragmatic, very results-oriented, very no BS. Just show me the money, show me the facts, give it to me straight. It's hard to pull the wool over an Albertan's eyes, in my opinion. Hard to pull the wool over an Albertan's eyes. That's a good thing. Another good thing is that once you show an Albertan the truth, they'll grab onto it with both hands and they won't ever let go. This is why this particular part of Canada, and I don't have any direct personal experience with other provinces in Canada yet. Don't have any direct personal experience with other parts of Canada yet. But this is why this particular part of Canada is such a wonderful place for longevity. Because, number one, it's socialized medicine in Canada. They're forced. The government takes money from their paychecks they've got no say in the matter. The government just takes money from their paychecks, and it's built into the income tax code, built into the tax code, that a certain percentage of your tax dollars every year go towards health care, and then, you get sick. What does it give you access to? Naturopathic medicine? No. Homeopathic medicine? No. Osteopathic medicine? No. Herbal medicine? No. Traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture? No. Ayurvedic medicine? No. All it gives you access to is pharmaceutical and surgical interventions delivered by reductionistically trained MDs. I mean, wouldn't you love to have a business like that? Wouldn't it be most awesomely fantastic if the government took money from everybody's paycheck and took a certain portion of the income tax payment from every citizen in your country and gave it to you every year? Wouldn't you love that? I mean, how great would that be? Well, that's what the MDs have enjoyed for the last 100 years all around the free world. If you want to enjoy the services of a naturopathic doctor, a homeopathic doctor, a chiropractic doctor, a traditional Chinese medical doctor, acupuncturist, Ayurvedic therapist, herbalist, or whatever, in Canada, you can do so. They're not going to prevent you from doing it. There are certain things that different medical professionals are not allowed to do. We can't do intravenous therapy in many parts of Canada as a naturopathic physician, but you can still have access to different types of medical treatment. You just have to pay extra. It's all private money. The government money, the income tax money, does not pay for anything other than MD-directed reductionistic allopathic therapeutics, and this is a problem. It's a problem because MD-directed allopathic reductionistic medical therapeutics don't work. They don't work for chronic disease. And in understanding why they don't work, we trace everything back to the root, which is, I think, a prudent and pragmatic and practical thing to do, right? I mean, if the tree isn't growing, the first place to look is the soil, right? Well, so we trace it back to the root and try to get a bead on what's happening. Well, what's happening? Your MD, your cardiac specialist, your pulmonary specialist, the left foot doctor, the right foot doctor, your eye specialist, your heart specialist, the kidney specialist, the fertility specialist, the pediatric specialist, and the general practicing MD. Every MD in the world, regardless of their level of expertise or their professional area of practice, right? We've got the oncologist, we've got the heart doctor, we've got the kidney doctor, we've got whatever. Whatever physician it is that you employ who has an MD after their name, regardless of their specialty, all dance to the same tune. Their therapeutics are all discovered, discussed, and disseminated through the reductionistic lens. Now, what does that mean? We've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again because it's important to understand this. This is why I recommend you fire your MD. It's not because they're bad people. It's certainly not because I have an axe to grind. It's not because of any ill will on my part or any type of prejudice or bias or anything like that on my part. It's because their therapeutics do not work. If people all around North America were going to witch doctors who waved snakes in front of people's faces and the treatment was letting the poisonous rattlesnake and bushmaster and viper bite you, I would recommend that you not go to them either. We don't recommend people to fire their MDs because the MDs are bad or evil or malevolent people. It's because of their training. I mean, for goodness sake, I wouldn't recommend you go to a communist if you wanted information about voters' rights. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't recommend you talk to an atheist if you want information about the relationship between man and God. I wouldn't do that. Wouldn't recommend you talk to a born-again Christian if you want information about reincarnation. And I certainly wouldn't recommend you talk to a Buddhist if you wanted information about the life of Jesus Christ. Because different strokes for different folks and different philosophies carry over through all walks of life, and they inform what someone does. Someone's philosophy informs how they see the world and how they walk through the world, and the German term for this is Weltanschauung. Weltanschauung, one of my favorite German words. Weltanschauung. It's somebody's worldview. Everybody has their own worldview, whether they know they have it or not. The worldview of a medical doctor, an MD, is the scientific term for the way that an MD looks at the world. The MD's Weltanschauung is allopathic reductionism. Medical doctors are not trained in medicine. Nobody is. Medicine, of course, is a vast terrain. The MD is trained, regardless of their specialty, regardless, does not matter. Doesn't matter if you go to the heart doctor or the kidney doctor or the eye doctor or the general practicing doctor, the oncologist, doesn't matter. Their training across the board is in allopathic reductionism, 100%. And allopathic reductionism argues that the human body is a machine made of parts, that the human body has no soul, that the human body is a coincidental arrangement of biochemicals that happened millions of years ago in some Jurassic Park swamp, stimulated by a bolt of electricity from a passing thundercloud, and then which evolved into life. That consciousness, how you think and how you feel, is a function of biochemistry only. And once you're dead, it's lights out. It's gone. It's over. There's no soul. There's no soul force. There's no spirituality. There's no metaphysics. They don't even entertain the notion of man's relationship to God. Because to the reductionist, if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. And to the reductionist, it's all about show me this and show me that, and let's measure it, and let's prove it with a double-blinded scientific control. So, to the reductionistically trained MD, your body does not have the ability to fix itself because your body has no built-in inherent God-given soul force wisdom. There is no inherent wisdom in your body. It doesn't exist. So when you're sick, which is inevitable to the MD, it's only a matter of time until something breaks, it's the MD's job to orchestrate a hostile takeover of the biochemistry of your body, because your body is a weak thing. It has no ability to fix itself, and the doctor is smarter than your body. The doctor is smarter than God. It's your doctor's job to deliver to your sick and suffering body a drug or a surgical treatment, the intention of which is not to cure the disease, because they do not believe that that's possible. The intention of the MD's therapeutic is to manage your symptoms with drugs or surgery. So they don't fix the arthritis, they give you a titanium knee. They don't fix the heartburn, they manage it with Prilosec. They don't fix the depression, they manage it with Prozac. Even though the double-blinded clinical trials that they triumph and champion so much clearly show that placebo is more effective than antidepressants for treating mild depression. They're rife with hypocrisy also, but that's not why we recommend people fire their MDs. We recommend that people fire their MDs because the therapeutics that they're trained in, the Weltanschauung that they bring to the world, their worldview about how illness develops and the relationship between men and women and the earth and disease and health is old-fashioned, outdated, dangerous, juvenile, and quite frankly, extremely expensive. MD-directed treatments in North America are the leading cause of death and the leading cause of bankruptcy. It's a sinking ship, ladies and gentlemen. You must, if you wish to get a different result, change the way that you go about your business. You keep going to the MD, you're going to keep getting more of the same. Sickness and death, sickness and death, sickness and death, and bankruptcy to boot. You want a different outcome, you need a different treatment. Welcome to Fire Your MD Now. 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. That's the number to call to speak to me directly. I want to talk about this a little bit more before I go to the phones. We're going to talk to Debbie from Florida shortly. But Medscape, new news in Medscape. Pfizer Incorporated announced that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved a supplement for a combination product containing morphine sulfate and naltrexone. This morphine-naltrexone combination is indicated for the management of moderate to severe pain when a continuous, around-the-clock opioid analgesic is needed for an extended period of time. So pain medication sales are a big deal, which is why the pharmaceutical industry is all about getting the next-gen pain med, because they're trying to find one, come up with one that doesn't destroy the stomach, doesn't destroy the liver, doesn't destroy the kidney, and doesn't kill you like Vioxx did. 500,000 people died because of Vioxx, and the FDA approved it. Remember, the FDA's job is not, in the United States, is not to keep citizens safe. The FDA's job is to prop up the pharmaceutical industry and give them whatever they need as often as they want. It is one of the biggest scams in United States political history, the relationship between the Food and Drug Administration and the government. The FDA has, number one, the members of the FDA are appointed, they're not elected, and they call the shots for whatever they do, and it's a completely corrupt organization because they're not there to serve the interests of the public, they're there to serve the interests of the drug company. So they'll give the thumbs up for drugs all the time, and then when the drug kills you, nobody gets thrown in jail. Imagine what would happen if one naturopathic physician gave one patient one treatment and it killed them. We would be pilloried in the town square. But the drug companies killed 500,000 people. 780,000 people a year. 500,000 from Vioxx all by itself. 12 women a day in the United States die from overdoses of prescription pain medication. And, you know, there's no public outcry. There's nobody yelling in the town square except good old Dr. Glidden and good old Dr. Wallach. But my point here is, remember, allopathic reductionism is an old-fashioned, out-of-touch therapeutic modality. It is an old-fashioned, archaic, out-of-touch therapeutic modality. It's only suited for conditions which are the epitome of reductionism. You know, you've got a bullet in your arm. It doesn't get more reductionistic than that. You have a bleeding artery. It doesn't get more reductionistic than that. You have a burst appendix. It doesn't get more reductionistic than that. This is why, of course, the forte of the MD is trauma care. Surgery when it's absolutely necessary, and a handful of infectious diseases. In a perfect world, it would be illegal for an MD to treat a chronic disease because their methodology, allopathic reductionism, does not work. It doesn't work. And it completely misses the point that the body has the ability to fix itself. So when you deliver old-fashioned, out-of-date, archaic, dangerous, substandard therapeutics to the masses, what happens? Well, they don't work. So what happens? People are in pain all the time. Then what happens? Well, the MDs have to come up with a treatment for that, and so it's like a snake eating its own tail. Their therapeutics are so ineffective that people are in pain all the time, and so they have to come up with a pain medication rather than taking a look at the ineffectiveness of their therapeutics. It's like letting a crazy person drive the boat. It is exactly like letting a crazy person drive the boat. It's nuts. But because it's so big and because it's so overarching and because most people have such an inferiority complex about anything scientific, we have been enculturated to believe that MDs are smarter and more intellectually astute than we are, and they're not. They're actually some of the stupidest people I've ever met, and I'm choosing my words carefully. I mean, why would you continue to prescribe a therapy that doesn't work? Why would you do that? Why would you not question what you were taught? What type of people never ever change and never ever question what they're taught? People who are prejudiced, people who are dim-witted, people who are slow on the uptake. MDs aren't the brightest bulbs in the bunch. They're somewhat dim. They can memorize things, and they can all walk in lockstep. But honest to God, if they had even an ounce of intellectual integrity, they would have abandoned their therapeutics years ago, and it would be the MDs leading the charge against the American Medical Association. But they do not. One more reason to fire your MD now. Going to see what's up in Florida when we come back and talk to Debbie. Stick around. I am Dr. Peter Glidden, and you're not. Hey, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here. 11, 12, 13. When's the next time that's going to happen? Well, never. Well, it's going to happen, you know, in 3013, right? 3013. You know, if you take your longevity supplements, you might just be around for that. Here's where I was going with that whole pain thing is MD-directed allopathic reductionistic medical philosophy and MD-directed allopathic reductionistic medical treatments do not work. And so as people follow the MD's advice, their pain and suffering increases. It's managed, kept at bay, and then it comes back. Then they need to generate the next generation drug before your stomach falls out or your liver gets destroyed from the drugs they've got you on for the pain that came from their ineffective treatments in the first place. Well, when you do longevity, here's what happens. Penny from Coeur d'Alene was on board my live chat session this morning, which you also can have access to as a Dr. Glidden insider. As a Dr. Glidden subscriber, check it out. FireYourMDNow.com, FireYourMDNow.com. Become an insider. Subscribe to my online health recovery webinars and archived health information. You'll have access to 4 hours of live webinars a week and hundreds of hours of archived webinars that are in the library, a mouse click away. We had a webinar this morning. There were 50 people more or less on it. At its height, we go from 10 to 11 Central Time, Mondays and Thursdays. We also do some webinars Monday and Thursday evening from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time. Here's what Penny from Coeur d'Alene wrote to the group this morning. We gave Mom in her 80s, Mother in her 80s has multiple issues. Ulcers, bone issues, hip issues, walking with a cane. After less than 4 weeks of following Dr. Glidden's dietary recommendations and taking longevity supplements, she is pleased to report she was surprised when a few days ago she woke up with no pain. And she's not using her cane. And she just set a goal to be able to do her own yard work, mowing and weeding next summer. Now, tell me that just doesn't make a little tear well up in your eye. An 80-year-old woman who's, worked a long, hard life. Life is not easy. Life is not easy unless you're Donald Trump, unless you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and then it's not even that easy. But, life is a hard struggle, and when we follow the MD's advice, the hard struggle of life becomes compounded 100 times because of ineffective, outdated, old-fashioned, dangerous, and ineffective and expensive treatments that don't fix a gosh darn thing. So you suffer and you suffer and you suffer in silence because that's what all your friends do, and you suffer a little bit more, and it's hard to fall asleep at night. It's hard just to get up. It's hard to play your favorite, it's hard to play golf. It was hard to walk down the block, for goodness sake. Hard to even hold your grandchildren up. Can't lift them because you're hurt too much. Can't get a good night's sleep because you're hurt too much. Can't even fall asleep because you've got restless legs or insomnia or pain or heartburn. You got something. We had a woman the last time I was up in Alberta. She came to one of the lectures that I gave, and she said that before she started medical nutrition, her heartburn was so bad she'd sleep with a bag of ice on her chest every month for like 10 years. Went away in 3 to 4 weeks with longevity. Went away in 3 to 4 weeks. Now, which is better, suffering with pain for 10 years or getting to the root cause of it in a couple of weeks with science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition? Folks, if you haven't jumped on board the longevity bus, if you have not even tried science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition, you do not know what you're missing. 866-582-9933. Let's go to Florida finally and talk to Debbie. Hey, Debbie, thanks for hanging on. You are live.
Hey, Dr. Glidden, can you hear me?
You betcha.
Okay. I have osteoporosis of the skull, and I've been on the Healthy Start Pack and glucogel, and I take extra calcium, and my headaches and the dizziness and everything went away. And then just recently, last week, my headaches have come back, and my ears kind of like hurting and everything. So I was wondering what else I could do. But then I was thinking, is like about 3 years ago, is I hit my head, and I have a bump on my head like the size of a small marble.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that might be doing it or not, or how can I get rid of that bump on my head? So any input from you would be great.
All right, great. Well, let's walk me through it, right? So before longevity, what were your predominant symptoms?
The whole room spun. And plus I was dizzy. I couldn't even get out of bed. I mean, the room would spin for 12 hours.
How long was how many days, weeks, months, or years was that happening to you?
That was happening probably the dizziness for about maybe, I'd say 3 months. Okay,
3 months. And before that, were there any other problems, bone problems, joint problems, blood pressure problems, heartburn? I mean, anything else problematic, or was it only the dizziness?
Well, I've always had extreme headaches, but I had like my legs cramped up and everything. I think I had gout, which I don't have a problem with that anymore, and I had a hard time closing my hands, which I don't have a problem with anymore.
Okay, so the gouty symptoms are gone, the arthritic problems in the hands are gone, and the whirling vertigo are gone, right?
Right. Now I'm starting to get a little dizzy every once in a while, so, I don't know about that.
All right, now on a relative scale of things, if the dizziness that you were experiencing before was a 10 out of a 10,
Oh, yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, the dizziness that you're experiencing now is what?
Oh, I would say like a 2.
Okay. And is the dizziness that you're experiencing now the same flavor of dizziness that you had, years ago when it was bad, or is it different?
I'd say it's the same.
Okay, very good. It's the same. That's interesting. All right. Have you started anything new in the last couple of months, like you've gone back to the gym, or you got a sauna for your house, or you started taking hot tubs regularly, or you're an aerobic person now? Has anything changed about your personal day-to-day life?
No.
All right. And have you added or subtracted anything besides what we recommend to your diet in the last few months?
No, I've taken things off, hadn't added anything new.
Okay. So then you've taken the things off that we recommend you take off, right?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. And what about calories? Have you increased calories at all? I mean, what's your caloric intake like, and how's your weight?
My weight's 115. I've always been like 115.
All right. So since the dizziness has come back, nothing really has happened to the weight one way or the other, right?
Oh, no. It's the same.
Okay, very good. And since the dizziness has come back, have you noticed anything peculiar about it? Like it only happens after sunset, or it only happens after you eat lunch, or is there any rhyme or reason as to the presentation of the dizziness, or would you say it's a completely random series of events?
I notice it like if I bend over, and if like when I go to bed and I lay flat, it seems to spark up, and then I have to sit up with 2 pillows.
All right, so sitting up with a couple of pillows makes it better, right?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Excuse me. And since the vertigo has started to creep back, has anything else increased? Have the headaches increased, or what's going on with the headaches?
Yes, the headaches increase, and I have my ear every once in a while will start hurting like it did before I started taking longevity.
So when the really bad whirling vertigo went away, did the headaches go away also?
No.
So the headaches have remained completely unchanged?
No, they've gotten lighter. They actually went away for maybe like 4 months, and then now they're coming back.
Okay, and when did they come back? Like yesterday, last week, last month, or when do you figure they came back?
Like 4 months ago.
Okay, and you live in Florida?
Yes.
And you've lived in Florida for a long time?
Oh, yes, like 50 years.
All right, and have you gotten a dog or a cat or moved to a new house or anything like that in the last 4 months, so everything's the same? Okay, and that lump on your head, what was the nature of the fall that happened to you years ago?
That was like 3 years ago, and actually I was pulling down the trunk of my car, and it usually has a catch, and I didn't catch, so it hit me on the head.
And was that the beginning of your headaches?
No, I had headaches years and years before that.
And they had gone away, and did they come back after you hit your head, or not?
Yes, but it took, like 2 years for them to go away after taking longevity.
Okay. So historically you had headaches, then they went away all on their own, then you hit your head, and then the headaches came back.
No, the headaches was always there before and after I hit my head. And then I started taking longevity, and it eventually went away, but now it's coming back.
Okay. So there's only 2 possibilities here. Either you're sneaking gluten into your diet and you're not aware of it. You don't know that you are. Or for some reason, and I just can't understand why, there's got to have to be something going on with your diet. Your body has lost or decreased its ability to absorb the nutrients. Are you taking the same amount of longevity stuff, or did you cut back on it?
No, I'm taking the same amount. I take 3 ounces of the OsteoFX a day. Okay.
So the only time that medical nutrition fails is if you're not taking enough or you're not absorbing enough. It's the only time. So you want to review what you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and look to see if there's anything that has gluten in it. Are you? Do you have a cocktail in the afternoon, or do you do anything like that? Are you completely alcohol free?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the only other thing that could be going on here is you want to make yourself aware of the foods which contain phytates, P-H-Y, T like Thomas, A, T like Thomas, E-S, foods that contain phytates. Because phytates bind to minerals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, spinach, for instance, has a lot of phytates in it. Nuts, tofu, soy, rice, and beans have lots of phytates in them. So sometimes what happens is people will start eating, spinach salad, every day. They get into a spinach craze, or they get into a Mexican craze, and they have lots of rice and beans all the time, or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with a phytate. There's nothing harmful with a phytate like there is with an acrylamide or a heterocyclic amine or a free radical, but the phytate will bind to a mineral and disallow it from absorbing into the blood. So the only thing that I can possibly think is happening here is there's something that you're eating that's interfering with the absorption of the nutrients. So check out the phytate thing, and if you're eating foods that have phytates in them, stop it. Make sure you're 100% gluten-free. And the only other thing that I would recommend that you do for 14 days is double the amount of calcium that you're taking. Double the amount of calcium that you're taking right now for 14 days, and then call me back. It's very interesting what's happening, Debbie. Keep me in the loop. Stick around, folks. Going to Arizona next. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're having fun today. 11, 12, 13. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Welcome to another live session of Fire Your MD Now. Let's finish out the first hour in Arizona with Marcy. Hey, Marcy. Thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Hi, Dr. Glidden. I was calling about a friend's son who he just got some fungus tested in his nose, and it's called curvularia. I was wondering if you know. Did I say that right? I probably totally butchered that.
Yeah, no. But, it's we love it that the MDs love to categorize things so much, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they told him he had a fungal infection in his nose?
Yeah, like a sinus infection, and then they tested it, and they said it was curvularia fungus.
So what'd they tell him to do?
I don't know, but I just know I want to help him, and I don't think the doctors will be able. I know the doctors won't be able to, so.
All right, so the first thing to think about fungus is the first thing to think about when you think about yeast, because they're kissing cousins. They're in the same family, bug. The main reason that people get fungal infections is not because there's fungus in the world. It's because something has happened to the environment of the body which makes it possible for the fungus that everybody's exposed to all of the time to feed and breed and grow and find a place to live. It's no different than mosquitoes in the summertime. Right. Mosquitoes breed in stagnant water. If there's no stagnant water in your neighborhood, there ain't going to be any mosquitoes. Well, if there's a big stagnant water pond in your backyard, guess what? You're going to be the king of mosquitoes because that's where they come to feed and breed. So the main causative factor of creating a funky environment in the body that allows fungus and yeast, like candida, a place to feed and breed, is faulty sugar metabolism. Now, most people in the U.S. who don't know any better eat way too much sugar. But remember, sugar is not the enemy. Sugar is actually your friend. Your DNA is made from sugar, and you couldn't bat an eyelash without sugar. Sugar is the gasoline of your body. The problem with sugar is how much you're swallowing at any moment in time. And secondary, maybe even primary, does your body have the requisite nutrients that it needs in order to process the sugar? Because even if the sugar is in your blood in exactly the right amounts, if your body is nutritionally starved, it won't be able to process it efficiently, so the sugar will linger in the blood too long, feeding things like fungus and bacteria. And so the first thing to ask this person with the fungal infection is whether or not they fall asleep after they eat a meal. Like if they get really drowsy after they eat a meal, number one. Number two, ask them if they wake up in the middle of the night and they're wide awake. Ask them if they wake up in the middle of the night and they're wide awake. Number three, ask them if they gain weight around their belly and it's really hard to lose weight around their belly, which is different from gaining weight in your hips or your thighs or your upper chest or your arm. Specifically around the belly.
He wakes up all night. That he wakes up all night long.
Well, all right. So there you go. So that's a sugar metabolism issue, and guaranteed he falls asleep after lunch. Guaranteed.
Right.
So it's a sugar metabolism issue. So remember what we do with holistic therapeutics, the holistic perspective, the holistic Weltanschauung, the holistic worldview, as opposed to the reductionistic worldview that the MD is trained in with holism. We give the body everything that it needs to process, in this case, sugar efficiently. So, his recommendation to support and promote the optimal function of his body would be the healthy blood sugar pack and selenium, appropriate for body weight. Give him 1 extra bottle of Sweeties for 2 months, and have him get the colloidal silver, Youngevity's colloidal silver. Go to the health food store, get their colloidal silver in a nasal spray applicator. Have him do 3 squirts of colloidal silver into each nostril 10 times a day. 3 squirts into each nostril with colloidal silver 10 times a day. That should go a long, long, long way towards helping the immune system to get rid of the fungus through direct antimicrobial action of the colloidal silver, and indirectly through supporting his body's natural sugar ability. He's going to love how he feels, Marcy, and thank you for taking a stand for his health. Hour 2 coming up, folks. Stick around.